Hey there, if you want to support this show and others like it, you can go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv and kick us a couple of bucks a month. It really, really does help us out. Once again, that is patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv.
Some of our landings were desperate adventures. We are now prepared to meet the inevitable counterattacks with power and with confidence.
My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Kole Ross.
You're listening to Bonfireside Chat. It is a French favorite?
A Vatican favorite.
A Vatican favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A naturalist favorite.
Yeah.
There we go.
Taxidermist favorite. So.
Yeah.
A magical Native American's favorite.
A Kung Fu Native American's favorite. Yeah. If you couldn't tell by that nonsense we just spouted, this week we are doing a special episode about a movie called Brotherhood of the Wolf.
Yeah, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about it is, like, so people said, like, hey, you should do Brotherhood of the Wolf. It's very Bloodborne-y. And for, I don't know, an hour, I was like, what the fuck are people talking about? Like, I don't know. Like, why am I watching this? What is this?
I saw those those costumes in that one scene, and that seemed Bloodborne-y.
Like, just having a tricorner hat is not enough, because then it'd be like, yo, dog, you ever read the First Amendment? You know, the Constitution?
Yep, there we go. The First Amendment to the.
Yeah, like it is. You know, you ever read the Articles of the Constitution? Super Bloodborne. Those guys are having tricorner hats everywhere. Like,
Gary, next episode we're covering the Patriot. Should I change that?
Yeah. Like, listen, I have nothing but respect for the office of town crier, but this goes beyond your jurisdiction. Like, it is. You know, so I was just really confused, other than the costumes, and then kind of, you know, the period, you know, having flintlock and stuff. Mm-hmm. But then it does get kind of soulsy.
Oh yeah.
Like, up to straight up, like, there's just a weapon from Dark Souls 2 in the movie.
Yep.
It's really weird. Mm-hmm. I was really surprised by that. And it's just like, oh, huh. Yeah. Okay. So now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah. So that's right. Like, this was recommended, and, you know, a lot of people, when the initial images and footage from Bloodborne came out, the people are like, oh, it's just like Brotherhood of the Wolf. And, you know, this is a strange movie, because it's directed by Christoph Gans, who I think the biggest movie he directed in America was the Silent Hill movie. And that's kind of why at least a lot of people that I know know about him. Like Ben from The Level, he's a big Christoph Gans fan because of Brotherhood of the Wolf, and because of the Silent Hill movie. He's a big fan of that movie. And I would have had him on here if he knew anything about Bloodborne.
Yeah,
you know, just, I would feel bad, like making references to this.
Bloodborne.
Yeah. But this is a foreign action film that, Gary, can you think of a movie that's more all over the road?
It's really, really everywhere in a way. Like, so it's strange, right? Like, there's a lot of merit to this movie. Mm-hmm. A lot of that all over the roadness, I think, hurts it. Quite a bit. It's kind of confusing, though, because there's like 3 different versions of it. And to my shame, like, I thought that I did a Google search and I was like, oh, it's streaming on Amazon. It's not. It was just one of those Google results that's like, you want streaming? Here's streaming, you know, because I didn't click through. I just thought, like, oh, okay, it's on there. Yeah. So I ended up doing it through watching one of those things where you just kind of search like movie streaming.
Oh, no.
And just watch it from some offshore account. I feel bad about it. I couldn't rent it on iTunes. I couldn't watch it on Netflix. I couldn't watch it on Amazon. Like, I couldn't watch it, essentially. So I ended up watching it through that. So I don't know which version I got. The version I watched was 2.5 hours long.
Yeah, that's one. So, that's the canonical one. I went to a couple of stores, and it's pretty much like I've always seen it like in those bins of old movies, like at a Best Buy. I ended up getting it at a Meijer. It was like a 2008 re-release of it or something. But the canonical American version is like 2.5 hours.
There's a version that's shorter, I want to say, and I think that would be okay, because the first half of this movie is a ponderous pacing shit show. Like, it is so slow and dumb that, like, I got actively angry like at it. And then like literally as soon as the most problematic character dies, it's awesome until the end.
Right.
And I'm just like, I'm on board. This is great. Like, this is a really cool action movie that's really fun to watch.
Yeah.
So it is everywhere. Like it's everywhere. Some of the places you want to be.
Exactly.
Some of the places you don't.
Yeah. And when we say it's everywhere, specifically, quality, it's a little bit all over the place, but the genre as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and that's what I'm really speaking to is the first half of it. That's like courtly romance.
It's courtly romance and like a little bit of like a mystery movie, like a bit. Just kind of like,
except none of it pays off or does anything until the second part, which is also like a really, really stylish action movie.
Right.
Like, So just super weird. But yeah, we're going to kind of go through it, kind of part by part, and we'll call out the Souls connections. This is a far bigger stretch than say like the Lovecraft episode was as far as soul stuff. It's an interesting movie. I would be surprised if there wasn't some kind of visual iconography taken from it, and it just has a little bit in common anyway, but like is a little bit of a stretch.
A little bit.
I would say, it's not inappropriate for us to cover it, but it's not as much of a slam dunk as that was.
Yep. But like, it's like this is a hard thing to get a hold of, if you're not scrounging in a bargain bin. And I think that there's something worth telling here.
Yeah. It's not without merit, like I said. And it's also worth, if you are you're a big Bloodborne fan, but don't foresee yourself hunting down this movie, we'll spoil it and tell you what happens in it, what's cool about it, and then you can decide if it's worth watching. This is one of the movies where I feel like, and you may disagree with this, but that like knowing the plot twist is not going to help. It's only going to hurt, or it's not going to hurt. It's only going to help, rather.
I think so.
Because like it's gonna make you engage during those parts that are slow and like looking for clues, rather than checking out thinking it's a bad movie. Knowing the twist, like the twist should be on the log line. Yeah,
you're waiting for the skeleton lords because they're there. And Dark Souls 2 is a bad game. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you're waiting for.
Yep.
So and it's good to know about the skeleton lords in this movie.
Right. One thing I will say though, even if you do watch this, or if you listen to this episode and then go watch it, or wondering like, I feel like I've got it. It is a visually striking movie.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it is cool. Like, it's well done. It's interesting to look at.
We're going to call out some shots, and it's going to be a little bit, at least for me, I won't speak for you, it's going to be a little bit Chris Farley show as we mention this. So if you've seen this, or if you can go around and look up stills of it, I guess, the visual side of this is a big part of it when it's not just courtly romance.
Yeah, a lot of those clips are on YouTube too.
Cool.
So this has been dissected and kind of torn apart and put on YouTube in bits, Old Man the Sea style. So like you can just see the best bits, like those terrible fish that stole that old man's fish, his bigger fish. One of the things I didn't realize looking at this is that it's kind of based on a true story.
Oh yeah, definitely. It is based on, it's an urban legend, but like it was actually there is documentation, and a lot of the people that you see were real people. But it was this stretch in France, like since 1764 to 1767, and the event, it's based on this idea of the beast of the Gévaudan. And I'm going to butcher the pronunciation of a lot of stuff here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm not going to pronounce one thing right. I'm going to mispronounce all of them so I don't feel inconsistent. So just look forward to that. So this was this real wolf kind of thing that was apparently terrorizing this town. But it's probably not true, but it's kind of a famous urban legend, and that's really neat that this is kind of one of those movies that's like, oh, what was the real story behind that? And so it's kind of this fictional, behind the scenes, like a national treasure.
I was going to go with From Hell, but okay.
Yeah, From Hell is probably more charitable. Also, like a not entirely without merit, but problematic movie.
Right.
So the whole thing is in flashback. It is from this Marquis Thomas D'Opcher, who's writing his journal about the way that men's convictions can turn men into beasts. Okay, pretty
cool.
Pretty Bloodborne-y. During the French Revolution, and we start off with a sequence of this woman kind of running through this hillside, running from something and attacked by this beast.
Yeah, it's unseen at this point, and she is panicked.
Yeah, and it's gory.
Oh yeah.
Like she gets really torn up, and some of the gore in this movie is pretty intense.
Oh yeah.
I was a little bit surprised by that stuff.
I mean, it even opens up at a very intense level that isn't reached, too far until much further in the movie when she falls down this hillside and is impaled on a tree.
Yeah. It is. Well, and then just when they're inspecting the corpse scene too, which is also really gross, and kind of plasticine. So this happens. It's kind of our beginning, but we're introduced to our main characters as these men are attacking this Roma woman and her father.
Yes.
And these two masked riders who just look like Bloodborne hunters come up and beat the crap out of them in super cool slow motion.
Yep.
Like. It's specifically like a cool slow motion fight scene, like super stylishly shot fight scene.
Definitely with a gigantic staff. And it's shot as though it was like an Eastern martial arts movie.
Yeah, which is just showing this weird mashup of styles here initially. And these are our two main characters, Gregor de Fronsac, and Manny. Manny. Who is a Native American, an Iroquois blood brother.
Yes.
And has mystic powers and can tell everybody what their totem animal is. And in general is kind of offensive, I think. And the movie doesn't actually get good again until he dies. And then I think the movie takes off when he's dead. Not because he's dead, but just it no longer has this weird... for a little while, it's like, oh, he's communing with wolves, or he is a werewolf, or I know where they're going with him.
The scene right before he dies is he's talking to the trees because the white man can't.
Yeah, it's really regressive. It's really weird.
Yeah,
to have this, and it's like they're playing with it as a theme. It's kind of self-aware.
Yeah,
everyone is really dismissive and kind of racist towards him, but just showing Native Americans as having magic powers isn't the best.
No,
that's not really something you should do.
Yeah, pretty much. I do like their relationship though.
Yeah,
like them being buddies and watching them, kind of go around and being partners in crime is very entertaining to me.
I like the main character actually.
Oh yeah,
he's in general pretty charismatic and it's got when he says a mystery, it is kind of like he's an element of him being like a Wolverine figure almost. Like he's just kind of doing his own thing.
Yeah.
And not taking bullshit.
Yeah, that's so de Fronsac, he's this he's like a naturalist who works for the king. He's also a taxidermist. He's kind of bordering on being a Kelso, but he pulls it off just by being very kind of likable in a lot of ways.
Yeah. It's a charismatic performance. Yeah. For sure.
And I don't say this an awful lot, but I'm secure enough to say it. A handsome dude. You believe him as a romantic lead.
I think he's kind of got a little too much face.
Oh yeah?
He's kind of got Gerard Depardieu syndrome a little bit. There's a little bit too much face.
Yeah.
But that could just be me.
I might be picking up on his confidence is the thing.
He's great. He would make a fine husband. For anyone. But
Gary, I bare my soul to you.
He's definitely the most attractive man in this movie.
Okay.
So way more attractive than evil McFuckarm and the court of paisley pockmarked old man. So
yep.
But we learned a little bit about the Beast. They run into this guy who runs a hospital for people who have been hurt. And the Beast is big and he's not afraid of bullets.
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah, and they do a sketch and he looks like a big werewolf monster.
Right. So he's spiky and he's got stripes all over him. It's a real big thing. And everybody there believes that this is supernatural. And we're initially led to believe that it's just because they're superstitious, but there's a reason that everybody is being coy about this.
Yeah, for sure. Which doesn't it doesn't come off until kind of later in the movie. So they check out another victim and they do a little. This is really gory. Her intestines are spilled out and she's naked. But we find out he does a little bit more kind of forensics. And the Beast must weigh 500 pounds, but most importantly, he takes a little piece of metal. Right?
Oh, that's later.
That happens later. Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Now he just knows its size.
Yeah, must be 500 pounds, and about the size of a cow is what he is. Is what he says. Or about the size of a bull, which is bigger than any wolf. What were?
Yes. We get to court with this really long naming of people at court scene, which doesn't pay off until way later. But it's just like, now I'm just like, what do you want me to remember this? Like,
Gary, you should see the initial draft of my notes, because as I was watching this, because they're foreign names and because it's a dub and nobody's lip movements match up with what they said. And I guess I could have put on subtitles on the DVD, but I didn't think to. All of my kind of notes are like the sir, I called Franzak sir, and like just it was like that one guy, the constable.
Yeah.
And then I had to go onto Wikipedia and then go back and backfill all of the identifying.
Well, I watched it subtitled because, as my tattoo says, subs over dubs, Anime Club 2015.
Subs over dubs.
Yeah.
Yep. But
the cash.
the primary figure here is Duhamel, again an actual person who is like a constable sent here by the king to kind of lead the hunt, but everybody is displeased with this, except de Franzak couldn't care less, because he notices this red hair woman, Marianne, who is purported to be a tremendous flirt and no man can have her.
Yeah, she's difficult, is what the guy says about her. And he tricks it. She's being courted by this playwright. He tricks the playwright into leaving and kind of flirts her up. And they get summoned to dinner, and then at dinner, he tells this story about finding a fur-covered trout, and we're introduced to this. Which
sounds like a horrible euphemism.
It really does, like going to catch some fur trout, like down at the Legion Hall. But then they bring it out and it's so cute, and I was just like, because at first I was like, what are they going for here? Is he like describing an otter? Like, is he supposed to be, but then he brings it out and it's like a Fiji mermaid kind of thing. Like it's just a creation of taxidermy, which are really interesting and always really scary to me. But we're introduced to this character who's going to become important, Jean-Francois, who has one arm and points out that, hey, this furry trout is fake.
Yeah. And then Franzak's like, you know what? You're totally observant. You're right. And I did this to tell you that dragons and unicorns only exist in books. So he is coming here with a very skeptical mind. He's
the Mulder.
Yeah. No, he's the Scully.
He's the Scully, but he's got the looks of Mulder. Can you imagine?
God, beat still my heart.
They organize this hunt, and this is again very, very Bloodborne. Like, this is something that I could see being specifically like inspiring the game. Like this idea of like a nightly hunt. Yeah. And the imagery of everyone getting ready and rounding their hounds and carrying torches and light and stuff. Like, this looks a lot like the intro scene of Bloodborne.
Yeah. And even like running like a shitload of wolves through the woods.
Yeah.
Like that. It is definitely very striking. Like, this is the biggest scene we've had so far. Yeah. Yep. But Marianne, appears like she's there against her parents' wishes because she sees something in this roguish de Franzak. And Jean-Francois, he kind of immediately sets off like creep vibes about her. Like, he's very protective.
They're fucking, and you can tell right away. It's like it's just I don't know if
you're watching Game Thrones, right? Throne games.
Yeah. I've been watching Throne of Bones. And you can just tell if there's a brother and sister pair, they're probably boned down. Like, that's not true. It just happens once. But it is, and this is, I would say this is a spoiler if it wasn't evident from frame one. There's a brother and sister couple in Crimson Peak as well. That it just immediately, like, anytime like a brother or sister like touch each other in a movie, it's like, oh, these guys are fucking. And you're right, like 90% of the time. Yeah, it's like, weird, it's such a stock standard plot twist. Like, so he's definitely got designs on her in a gross way, and he talks about this kind of Chekhov's bullet thing that comes up because he uses silver bullets in his gun. They're custom made
to sign his kills.
He makes them himself. It's like he has to have them custom made.
Yeah, he's because he's a hunter, like, as a nobleman, and he explains how he lost his arm in Africa, and he's real dismissive towards de Franzak, saying like, oh, why aren't you in Africa? As a naturalist, like, get out of our hair, kind of.
Yeah, totally. Like, he doesn't want him here. Yeah. There's a real, that's a very Bloodborne exchange too, where Marianne is talking to de Franzak, and he's like, so you have no taste for the hunt? And he says, is that a crime in these parts? That could have line from Bloodborne. Like that's not like something that you would say to somebody. There's also this little bit here that's semi important with the Roma woman from before.
Yes. Yeah.
Where they start tormenting Manny, and they start this fight. So there's like an action scene, and she starts having a seizure. This kind of will come up again a little bit later.
Yeah. But de Franzak, knowing what she is, like knowing that she has epilepsy or something like that, puts a knife hilt in her mouth to keep her from swallowing her tongue. And then, Jean-Francois is like, this fucker, this guy, where do you get off being a naturalist, a hunter, and also a healer? Fuck you.
Yeah. So the you see a bunch of wolves get shot, a lot of puppers get hurt, and it's a little bit upsetting.
Yeah.
But then this white wolf appears, and it's like, what's up with this white wolf? They're gonna shoot it, but Franzak stops Manny Marianne from shooting it.
Yeah, with her ridiculously long gun.
She has the gun from the Joker.
Yep,
it's like the Batman gun. Yeah, it's the Joker's gun from the Tim Burton Batman.
That's what I was gonna say. Damn it.
Yeah.
But as this happens, like Manny stands up and he's surrounded by birds and butterflies.
Yep, because he's close to nature, because he's a Native American.
Yeah, and also this is a movie that was made, in roundabouts 2000, so the CGI is real goofy.
Oh, is it bad? Yeah, like both those things are like the two worst things about the movie. Is just like the CGI reliance and this guy just being like closer to nature in a supernatural, almost inhuman way to the white man. Like it's real noble savagery and gross. And I'm just like, I saw this and I was just like, oh, come on. Like, why are you doing this? Like,
I saw your tweet from last night this morning. I was like, what am I watching? And I was like, he probably got to the butterflies, didn't he?
I just like it just kept getting to the point where I'm just, what is this? Like, because we're not like, we're still really early in the movie. There's a lot more of this fucking moving chairs around before we get to where things start making sense. There's some downtime, and Franzak kind of explains his relationship with Manny to the guards, and they're aghast that he would mix his blood with a savage. Their words, not mine. Yeah, it's pretty gross. They're like, hey, if you have sex with a white woman, can you have children? Yeah. And what is the line he uses? He says, really... like, all women look the same when the candle's out or something. Yeah, like your women and my women look the same when the candle's out. Yeah, which isn't what they asked. They were talking about your compatibility, your seed, dog. Never say seed dog again. Who is seed dog? Yeah. But then he starts assigning everybody totem animals. And it should be noted that Thomas is given the serpent. And Thomas is great. I love his party mullet, like his old timey party mullet. He has the worst haircut in the movie. Yep, for sure. And he's such a weird character that like becomes important like at the halfway point. Yeah, seemingly out of nowhere. Like, oh, these guys had a strong bond that I really didn't see set up the whole first half of this movie. Yeah, but I guess they're besties now. Yeah, no, like he straight up joins their gang, and like the four of them along with Marianne. It's like, yeah, fuck, rock on, man. Like, go throughout the countryside solving wolf crime, please. Like, I want that miniseries. Like, give me 13 on HBO, man. Yeah, I like wolf crimes. I like. Yeah, but So Franzak's taking this brothel, and he meets this other character who's going to turn out to be important. Surprisingly, this Italian courtesan named Sylvia. Yes. And they bone around, and she cuts him a bunch. Yeah, she does that thing where she's going to stab him in the face. Like, she pulls a knife out from under the pillow, which, like, if I ever go to a brothel, which I won't, but I'm definitely checking under the pillow for knives. Yeah, well, especially the way that they portray brothel, like the brothel here. Yeah, it's a lot of women walking around in corsets and nothing else, and their boobs hanging out. But it's shot like the circus scenes from Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Like, and there's like straight up circus music in the background. It's very upsetting. But yeah, definitely check for the knives just in case. And also like that, like, explain this scar to me. I forget what movie that's from, but I feel like it's from some kind of like 80s action movie, like roundabouts when Rambo came out. Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't know. But this is also the part where nobody wants to have sex with Manny because they think his tattoos move, right? Yes. And then the one girl volunteers because she wants it exotic, and they probably cut each other up too. It's just the way things go. Manny doesn't talk like we're describing him, and it makes it sound like, I don't want to sound like I'm being racist and saying how weird they're treating him. He's just a silent savage where like they like noble savage, like he's not a savage, but it's the trope rather. And like there's literally times where like all of the white people are talking and then they look up and he's hanging from a tree like stoically watching them. Like it is ridiculous, the treatment of this character in this movie.
Yeah. And when he does talk, it's like entirely to be sassy.
Yeah, it's which could be worse. It's not like, you've angered the spirits. The spirits are angry. Like,
Right.
it could be way worse, but it's still not. It's still real. Like he's like half wisecracking sidekick, half mystical shaman sidekick. It's real weird.
Yeah. Also, Sylvia, this courtesan, she just exists to have nice costumes hanging on her. Like it's great. Yeah. It's all this costume craft. It's like something out of The Fall or something. Like the way they have her here, and like most of the like interesting like people shots come from her as well. Like Gans kind of breaks out this like, okay, all the composition we can get. Let's put it on her.
Yeah.
As they pan up her naked body, and her breasts are match cut and a dissolve against mountains.
Yeah, they do a breast fade.
Yep, they do a breast fade to snow-covered mountains.
I think that happens in The Naked Gun. There's a part where like he's talking about his ex, Frank Drebin, and he looks out and there's two corn silos. He's like, everything I look at reminds me of her. And then they fade to her breast from those two corn silo things.
That's pretty great.
They stole this from The Naked Gun. The notes right here say Silent Hill, Real Wolf, Joker Gun, Naked Gun. The show notes so far.
Okay, continue. Continue in that crazy beat poetry form for the notes.
Improv like game. What comes next? Anyway, somebody else gets killed.
Yeah,
by this beast.
Yes, and this is revealed by their father rushing into the church, which is this amazing hospital. Like it's straight out of the old Hunters, like with the shrouds over the bed and like the nuns in their nurse costumes. It's very striking, and runs in and summons them out to the river. And we find his son, his body contorted on top of the frozen river. I tried to find some significance for the fact that most of the murders occur near water, but I couldn't.
I don't know any.
Yeah.
Based on it. I mean, it's like it's the beast itself is part lion, right? We find out at the end.
It is a lion.
Yeah, it's a lion. So like maybe there's something there. Like is that a
Yeah, I don't know if like I looked that up, but I couldn't see does a lion hunt near rivers, but nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something like that. It does seem to be, and that it could just be for visual flourish. Like, the shots in this are so composed that could just literally be the idea. So Manny tracks these rabbits to a cave during this part, and he finds this a young girl.
Yeah, the daughter.
The daughter. And this is where Franzak finds the metal spike.
Yes,
in the body of the boy.
Yes, no animal has metal fangs. He says when he gives his report later on, as Duhamel is dismissed in disgrace, right?
Yes.
As again the royalty kind of insists, nope, this is totally supernatural against all of the findings from de Franzak.
Yes, and he's replaced with this guy who I think is kind of a real scene stealer. I can't remember his name, but I like this new guy.
Oh, Botern. Botern.
Oh, I don't know.
That's his name. That's his name.
Yeah, okay.
But that's not till a little bit later.
The cadence of a question, and I wasn't.
Yeah. I was asking if that's who you meant. Is what I was doing.
Well, I don't know his name, so it is who I meant. But I'll trust you.
Yeah, there's a little bit more kind of like hemming and hawing. Like Franzak explains his doubts to Marianne, saying like, if I went back to the king right now and said, "Oh, he's 500 pounds," and here are the sketches of him, they'd call me a madman, right? Yeah.
And Sylvia does this whole thing where she says like how Italian women poison their husbands in the morning, give them the antidote in the evening to keep them like true to them, and they go to sleep. And there's this really cool, when you mentioned the fall, like that's a good kind of visual reference for some of the stuff that's happening in this, because we get this dream sequence, which like ordinarily I don't like dream sequences, but this is really great where like he kind of wakes up looking in a mirror, and like I don't know if you've ever like I don't like sleeping in a room with a full length mirror.
No,
in it, and this is part of the reason why is like if you wake up in the middle of the night, you look in the mirror, like it's really easy to freak yourself out.
No, I have a full length mirror in my bedroom, and I covered it with posters.
Yeah, it is. They're not my favorite things, full length mirrors in general, but like having a mirror in the bedroom seems like a bad idea. And so like the reflection he sees in the mirror is this real crazy, like impressionistic thing with Sylvia.
Well, it builds out too, because it's just her silhouette and her head is down. and she's in this hat. Again, she is a very beautiful woman, but she's a hanger for these very ornate costumes. As she is like leaning over his body, again in the reflection of the mirror, as the camera pulls in closer and the light comes up on her, and then the background builds out, and we see that she is kind of dressed like a wasp or a bug or something like that, and is raising a dagger, and like she is like in the middle of it's like Venus rising or whatever it is, like the birth of Venus, except instead of the clamshell and whatever, it's a bunch of dead trees like composed in this radial fashion out from behind her, and then like up and around her as she gets ready to lower this knife down into his back.
Yeah, it's super cool. Yeah. It's a beautiful shot. It's really good.
Yeah, I would definitely like if you can find that on YouTube. Like, fuck yes, like this. Yeah. This is what Christoph Gans does best from the scene, from the movies of his that I've seen.
Yeah. So now this new guy's coming through. This Buturn guy's coming in because Franzak wakes up. There's a parade, and they meet. And I think this is the guy who I think is a real scene stealer. Like this guy looks like he's just like a kind of a classic kind of villainous character, and he doesn't believe or doesn't like he's not invested enough or doesn't care or is actively disbelieving what Franzak's saying about the beast, which is kind of interesting. Like, and that's going to kind of come in later a little bit. Yeah,
no, he is totally, he's not having any of it. He's here to produce results. It's like when they send somebody down from corporate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Again, here comes Manny again. The young girl that they found is kind of convulsing in her in her bed in the hospital, and Manny runs in and he breaks open his bracelet and drizzles something over her face that I couldn't quite determine what it was.
Oh, it's Native American magic.
Okay, cool.
It's medicine man powers that he has.
Yeah, and this is intercut with Franzak working over his sketches and stuff, and Sardis, the priest, and the guy who runs the hospital, he is very much he tries to accuse him of dropping poison in her face and doing like shouting satanic incantations, but that doesn't really go anywhere.
Yep. Yeah. So she kind of comes back and she starts talking about this encounter she has with the beast.
Yeah.
Which is also a cool looking scene as well. Like it's weirdly stylized. Like the color is inverted in the scene, so it looks really interesting. This kind of in a way, like, but when you actually see the beast, this is the first time I want to say you see the beast at all.
Yes,
really?
It is.
And it keeps going back and forth between based on whether it's a close-up shot or a medium shot. And medium shot beast looks the worst.
Oh yes, definitely.
And close-up beast looks cool. And they flip between them really quickly. Like, and this continues for the whole movie.
Well, like, what's funny here is if you just take the appearance of this scene, it's okay that the beast looks kind of janky, because like it could just be the way this girl's telling the story and how stylized it is. Like this could just be like some of the weird dream freakout sequences from Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Like it makes sense that everything is moving around kind of choppily.
Yeah,
dreamy. Yeah, and and is inverted, but it's like, okay, well, it'll probably look better and like be a little bit less crazy later on. No, actually, like we're seeing a very accurate representation of the way this movie portrays the beast. But at least here it's also dark. Like if you're gonna do bad CG, at least light it or don't light it rather. But later on, he's pretty much always in the full light of day.
Yeah. Don't show the beast. So what Buturn's plan is to they killed a wolf, and he's like, we got the wolf, and Franzak's interested, but he looks, it's not the wolf. He's saying, no, you're a taxidermist, you're going to make it the wolf, because we're going to return this to Paris. The king's going to thank you. We need to put an end to this and just say we caught it. And he reluctantly does it. Yeah. And starts creating a fake wolf.
Yeah, and this is real gross because it's a lot of close-up shots of
taxidermy.
Yeah, taxidermy, which is upsetting enough. I will look at some taxidermy if it's there, but it's an upsetting idea. Yeah, upsetting idea. Yeah. But while this is happening, that's kind of intercut with a first-person sequence of this guy walking into the brothel who scares all the women, and we get a close-up shot of a red ring. Again, this is like blink and you'll miss it, but it's also a clue as to the identity of this person who is trying to undermine things. Yeah. And as he's getting ready to go back to France, Marianne is cold to him. And we find out that she has gotten some of the sketches that he has done because he is drawing this Italian courtesan like one of his French women.
Yes. Yeah. He draws an Italian woman like one of his French women. Yeah. And she's really upset about it, which like, I part of me I was just like, you don't really have a leg to stand on here, lady. Like that's okay. Like it's, you guys weren't committed,
Like they were hanging out. Like they're.
Yeah, they were. But I mean, they were just buddies and stuff. You don't own this dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. I thought the reaction was weird. Like the scene read as like, oh, did I miss something?
Yeah.
Like, did they get married off camera or something like that? Like, not married, or even just like spend more than 5 minutes with each other off camera.
Yeah.
Which I guess there has to be some implied relationship development, but it wasn't in the movie. And like, it's hard for me to say it was cut out because nothing was cut out of this movie.
Yeah. Again, it's 2.5 hours long.
So like this felt unearned to me. I didn't really get it.
Like so if she wasn't doing it directly to him, like, like directly at his face, like how could you? I could totally believe that, like, oh, she had feelings for him and she just didn't say anything. And, there was no breach of trust because there was no trust to be breached.
Yeah.
And she's kind of like, oh gosh, this sucks because I should have said something and now I feel bad. But it is straight up a confrontation that is aided by, Jean-Francois, who comes in and like, she said, leave, buddy.
Yeah. Kind of does that.
Yeah.
So,
but he pushes this guy over.
Yeah, exactly. There's a good shove of this. The guy who plays Jean-Francois is really visually kind of perfect.
Yes.
Like he looks the part.
Yeah.
For what he is.
Yeah.
So
like even before he lost his arm and got, changed when he was in Africa, you could probably tell that he was not, like, just visually, he looks like an evil guy.
Yeah. He looks disturbing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
But so we're heading back. He's heading back to France now, and he kind of gets bribed to leave. This is when he gets bribed to leave, right? I'm not mixing up the sequencing. They're like, hey, there's a ship leaving for Africa. You could be on it. The king's going to be grateful.
Yes. This is about where it's. Yep.
Yeah, but he gets a book before on his way out.
Yeah.
After Butterfield reveals this fake beast that he created,
which
and gives
looks
him a
so
book
goofy.
It's really goofy, but I mean the real beast looks pretty goofy.
Uh-huh.
It's and this book, which I cannot pronounce. The Elephant.
Yeah, l'Elephant de France, which is the edification of France.
Yes. It's like a secret book.
Mm-hmm.
He has passed.
Yes, this is it's like a tract, right?
Yeah, and I'm surprised there wasn't more time. Like, this is maybe the point in the movie where like it starts turning and getting strange. Because I was like, okay, we're gonna find out more about that book, but that doesn't happen really.
No, it's not. It's not until like all of the other kind of consequential or like a kind of inconsequential evidence is put together that this is used as the kicker. Because I mean, we don't need to beat around the bush. This is like it's a piece of propaganda saying that the beast is here to punish the king for valuing science over religion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, this is, given to him, and we can only assume that he reads it in the meantime, and that's what helps him put together the conspiracy. But that is not revealed to us.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So he's bribed to go back to Africa, and there's a scene where he's the beast ends up killing again.
Yeah.
And this is in the water, right?
Yeah.
This is the scene with
all of them are in the water.
The water. No. Well, the pit, like the mud pit.
Yeah, so it's the mud pit. There's this woman who's trying to retrieve her lamb. Like her dog has led her to an escaped lamb, and she's trying to clamber up the side of this ravine as the wolf comes and gets her. And this is a pretty cool reveal. Which again, bad CG. It looks really bad in motion, and still it can kind of be okay. Like she turns around and there's a freeze frame like on her eye as we see the beast kind of like edge up behind her. But again, it's never like full on looking at the entire thing.
Yeah. But you kind of get the sense that it does look kind of weirdly mechanical here.
Yes.
Which is going to be, because it's got elements of metal to it, to its costume, I guess. Yeah. And so as our man's left, and Sylvia, the courtesan, comes up to Marianne and says like, hey, you should forgive this guy. He calls your name in his sleep. Earlier she said like all men call the name of their true desire in their sleep, which like I hope is not true, because it just means just like gummy savers.
Solitude.
Yeah, I know. Just over and over and over in my sleep. But so she's like, okay, I'll do it, because she's real fickle emotionally. There's probably an argument to be made that this is a pretty poorly handled lady character in this movie. given everything that happens. Like,
yeah,
she's not
Marianne.
she's not very active. Yeah, like she's not. I mean, Sylvia is really good. Like she's a mover and shaker, and she's empowered.
Yeah,
Marianne not so much.
I wish they would have done more with her because I like her actress a lot.
I like her actress a lot too.
Yeah,
like she looks really cool dressed up as a hunter. Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
And like she gets to do that a couple of times too, and she displays like, you know, competence in those scenes. It's just she's kind of at the whim of the plot.
Like she just
time.
falls in plot love. Yeah. And like he fell in plot love too, which is not cool, but he's also portrayed as kind of a Kelso for the rest of the time. So like he's shown as good. But yeah, like instant plot love is always a thing that bothers me in movies anyway. Like I'm always going to notice two people just falling in love for no reason instantly. And that definitely happens here. Like a lot of the stakes are tied up in this.
Yeah. But this, hey, you should forgive him. This happens when she's going to pray at the church, and oh gosh, the priest who is looking cagier and cagier as things go on, kind of chases her out. Because she knows that, you know, like again, something's going on.
Yeah.
But this segues to Thomas meeting with Franzok on the docks. Essentially, he's ready to go, and presents him with this letter from Marianne saying, "Hey, come back, and also we need to hunt this beast because he's killed again."
Yeah, and Manny's up on a crow's nest or something like that,
like up on a bow.
Being stoic. So they meet at this house where the beast actually comes in and attacks. Which is really, really cool. The shot, because we see the beast like going in, and they don't notice it when they first go in.
Well, no, it's the shot is like they send the owner of the house down to the cellar to fetch them some wine, I guess, or something. Like this is a guy who's helping, you know, in their conspiracy to love. And he goes down and he's carrying this lantern, and it's like a nothing shot. Like you just see it's framed by the cellar stairway as it like comes down. It's like silent, like no attention is paid to it until you hear the scream.
What it reminded me of most, the movie The Village. Yeah, the M. Night Shyamalan movie, which is not a good movie, but the first time the creatures in that movie attack, there's a shot that's very similar to this, where like characters are doing something in the foreground and one of the creatures is just standing in the background. Yeah, and it's just kind of framed, and it doesn't draw attention to it, and it's really, really effective and cool. And I always noticed that kind of technique in horror themed things. But it's not used very often. No. Or for my liking, like I really like it, and that's what this reminded me of.
Yeah. No, it was very effectively done because this terrible thing was just a background element.
Yeah, and that's great.
As he was for the whole first half of the movie, but this attack kind of kicks off that transition.
Yeah. Now we are in a different movie. Now we're in the last quarter of 28 Days Later rather than the first quarter. Because we get this awesome like attack scene. Yeah. Where like the beast like attacks.
Yeah, like they're tearing through the inside of this house like it's Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, and he just like they just straight up fight it. Like there's no like I'm just gonna punch this gigantic mecha wolf like no problem.
Yeah, and Marianne holds her own in this too. Like she's not like running around. Like she's using pieces of the house against it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super cool. Like it's a good fight, but the beast ends up cornering her, and then it ends up sparing her.
Yeah, like just backs off.
Yeah, why would we do that? And then we see a masked man, which I think we saw this mask for a brief moment before this too.
It's in the dream sequence.
Yeah, and it's super creepy, good mask. Yeah, and blows this whistle to recall it. Yeah, and you're like, huh. Yeah.
Yeah. So now they're galvanized by the fact that they have seen this thing. They know, okay, what the fuck? Something's going on. Like DeFranzek never says, okay, it's officially something supernatural, but you know, it's homing in on him. It's like it's specifically victimizing him.
Yeah. And that's why he knows like, hey, this is under control of a person. Yeah. Like this is, you know, so and that's really key. It does this transition to this pumpkin thing, which I really love. Yeah. Other than Manny being like, you know, your guns are useless to me. Let me throw this tomahawk at these.
They make too much noise. They make too much smoke. They smell bad.
Yeah, exactly. So here's the cool, you know, Native American way that I do this, and it's just like you gotta stop piling up these cliches. Like it's also like there's probably some sub level, and there are probably people who are really annoyed that I keep bringing this up, but like I was reading about it, and that's like a Filipino actor. Okay. I want to say too, like it's not even, they didn't even cast like a real, they like engage in every Native American stereotype and then don't cast like actual representation.
Yeah. Like he's like Filipino, Spanish, Irish, something else.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, and he's like a fine actor if he just had better material. Like,
oh, definitely. Like,
yeah,
and
he's
and
fine.
I would even say his like I will defend his relationship with the Franzak. Like those two being buddies. Again, I want to watch them solve wolf crimes.
Yeah, wolf crimes. Yeah, I'm into it. Yeah, it's I would watch that wolf crime movie.
Mm-hmm.
It just with slightly fewer Native American cliches.
Yeah, just like less stereotype. Like let him become a character, and like he kind of becomes one right before he dies.
A little bit. Like he does a little bit, but yeah, and then his death is just very like overwrought, and he's like his death serves a purpose for the main character.
Yeah,
more than anything, which is kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
But anywho, this pumpkin training scene I actually really like because you just like a vegetable you imagine like exploding, with bullets, but I like watching it.
Well, they exploded with bullets, but these aren't pumpkins that have like stringy guts. They're pumpkins that leak orange goo.
Yeah, yeah. Here's the part when you said I had that tweet where I said, "What the shit am I watching?" It's actually this next scene where Manny is straight up about to lead Thomas on a vision quest, giving him peyote. Like how? Like it's like a bingo card. It's amazing. Like I was just like, "What is happening? Like, are you really going to go lean into that?" And they kind of do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that happens, and they're kind of like, okay, well, you will sleep, and we will dance the dance of blood, and we will, the wolf will come with the sun, or something like that.
Yes, great. So this is a really great fight scene, though.
Oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Yeah, this is awesome. Yeah. This is one of my favorite sequences. Like, actually, from here on out, it's great. Yep. Like the movie is really, really good from here on out. So like they set up all these series of traps for the beast. Which is awesome. Like it's
like eventually it became a comedy because at first they lure him into the cage that drops over top of him and he breaks out of it, and then there's the log, and then it just keeps going. It's just trap after trap after trap.
Well, it's because the movie stops being realistic. Like, I mean, it's never realistic at any point, but like this is when it straight up becomes like a fantasy movie. Like this kind of like absurd trap layout thing. Like, I'm like, okay, this is the kind of movie we're in now. These people have superpowers for some reason, and they're fighting Super Wolf. Yeah, and like this is all magic and nonsense. Like that, it just made it work for me. Like this was the flip. There's the switch. I was like, oh, okay. And like I'm watching a magical realism action movie now. And
this actually really works for me because like if it was just a long protracted scene of them fighting this beast, that'll look really stupid because it's a bunch of it's three real people fighting a video game character.
Like a PS2 mid-boss.
But instead they're using these traps, and it's composed really well. Like you can tell where everything is in relationship to each other. And as it kind of continues on, like it has this awesome rhythm to it as like, okay, trap, hold, break, trap, hold, break. And as they kind of like roll up as like the frontier advances, like that is a really good choice because this is the last big conflict that the beast is really involved in, and everything they do afterwards is like humans fighting against humans.
Which is also really great.
Yeah.
In this movie. But yeah, this is a highlight. I'm sure this scene is on YouTube. So I at least I hope so. Yeah. So the beast ends up getting Thomas's arm and kind of drags him off. And Franzak, since those guys are all of a sudden like super bros, ends up tending to him while Manny tracks the beast to a cave.
Yes.
And he's attacked by people.
Yeah.
It's not the beast. It's a bunch of cultists essentially.
Yeah. This is super creepy too because he's in this cave that's full of like. At first, I thought they were crosses, but I guess they're training dummies.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Super cool. Don't they find a bunch of copies of the book here too? Or is
that's a little bit later on in the room full of crazy.
Yeah. So he's being attacked, and then eventually the Roma girl from earlier shows up. He decides to spare her, but gets shot in the back.
Yes.
Which cuts to a Franzak no scream, which is more believable than him and Thomas or him and Marianne.
Well, it's
the relationship in the movie that's believable.
Yes, exactly. So. Yeah. Well, it doesn't cut to that. It cuts to them throwing Manny out in the woods.
Oh
yeah, and he's still alive. Like he dies alone in the middle of the woods. Which fuck. And Franzak realizes he hasn't seen him in a while, and goes looking for him, and like you see him scream no, you don't hear it, which is good. It would be super.
Yeah, it's still
a no.
It still shouldn't be done.
Yeah.
But the big thing is he finds a silver bullet in his back, which like, okay, dipshit. Like, he signed her kills. Like,
he lovingly performs an autopsy. Like, he's sobbing as he washes the body with a sponge. Like,
yeah,
I should be like seeing this as like the last act of respect and camaraderie between
it's
two
still
friends.
a very tender like brotopsy though, and it's still weird. Like, brotopsy's got to come into vogue. Like, listen, bro. Like, listen, you're gonna be Kaylee's godfather, and if I ever die, I want you to give me a brotopsy.
And then I'm going to taxidermy you and put you up in the den.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn you into a bigger, stronger version of yourself
and present you to the king of France.
Yeah.
They don't even have a king anymore, dog.
Prime minister, whatever. So, yeah. But this is where this becomes a crazy revenge movie, where Franzak gets magic powers and becomes a spirit of vengeance. This is where it becomes the Crow. For some reason.
Yeah, but it works so good because he's like Batman too.
He's like the Bat Crow, and like it works partly because like at this point like the movie's leaning into its strengths, right? Mm-hmm. Like, the costume design stuff in the beginning is fun, but the pacing is really slow. Mm-hmm. Like, you could condense the first half of this movie very easily to a half hour or something like that. Or like less and have it be like a Fury Road thing and just have it be like adrenalized. Like,
just we never stop.
Because like there's cool stuff in those quiet moments, and we called it out, but there's so much of it that's dumb and like hard to keep track of and confusing, and like it just felt to me like not a very efficient story for much of it. And it's not like that slowness I didn't feel like added to this.
Yeah,
like I'm just on board for this, and it wasn't like, oh, this is cool because they earned it and it was slow.
Yeah.
And good slow. It was bad slow, but good fast.
Yeah, but like it picks up, an hour and a half in, which is, and
that's a lot. Man.
That is a long time.
That's like my roommate just wrote his Xenogears review where he's like, yeah, you get your flying mech 40 hours in. It's really great. It's 40 hours in. Like it's still, that's 40 hours, no matter what. And this is still 90 minutes of a 2.5 hour movie before like it really picks up. And like when it picks up, it's great. Yep. Like, this is all great. Everything from here on is super cool.
Yeah, because he shows.
I'm not focusing on the shitty first half, but like just pointing out, if you pick up this movie based on a recommendation, and you start watching, and you're like, this is boring. Why those assholes lie to me? Like, it gets good eventually.
Yeah. And specifically around the time when he lights a stable on fire so the cultists run out and he starts picking them off with flame arrows.
It is so video gamey. Yep. It's and then he just goes back and fights like a dozen dudes.
Well, this is awesome because he goes into the house and it's like following him, and again, just all of the cuts like make sense. Like, the direction he attacks is the direction it cuts, then he comes back to it. Like, you get the feeling of him going through this house and just clearing it with his short swords.
Yeah. All of the action scenes are really well done too. It doesn't have that like late 2000s
like
confusing
cuts.
Quick cut. Like, they linger on shots long enough to know what's happening, which I really appreciate, which is like a thing when you mentioned earlier, like Hong Kong cinema, like that's a Hong Kong cinema thing. Like, action choreography was better back in the day. And part of the reason why is because they let you see things happen. Yeah. Like an action could start and conclude in one shot, and as opposed to cutting for the impact and losing any sense of momentum. There's a really, if you know the YouTube channel, Every Frame of Painting.
Oh God, I love that.
Yeah, the one he does on Jackie Chan is amazing. And it's just like, oh yeah, this is why every action movie that I've seen in the last like 15 years has been garbage.
Yep.
Like, and this doesn't fall into that trap.
No.
And I'm really happy about that. Like, they're really well composed action scenes. They're a little bit more sped up than like old Jackie Chan stuff, but they aren't Transformers, the Dark of the Moon nightmares.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah, but as he goes through this and works his way into the guts of the house, down into the basement and the cellar, he gets into, again, the aforementioned room full of crazy, which has the prerequisite documents on the walls and pictures and sketches, but also like just really disturbing like haunted house stuff, like a fetus in a jar and bones and skulls, and then like these African masks. Again, another clue. As it goes on, this is also where we see a bunch of the copies of the books.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
he gets
There's
into
a conspiracy afoot.
Yes, he gets into the inner lair and kills one last guy before he just decides, all right, I got to get out here and burn Monty's body at dawn because that's what his people do.
That's what his people would have appreciated. Yeah. So he heads out, and then Sardis shows up to arrest him because he murdered a bunch of cultists, and he's actually knocked out and kind of kept in this prison. And Sylvia shows up, and this is where it's okay, this is the reason why she was here at all. She's a spy for the Vatican.
Yeah,
in case you weren't expecting that, because I wasn't.
No.
I figured something was up, but because there's a part earlier where she says something like "information is my stock and trade," or she says some line about it where it's okay, there's something going on with her, but I didn't expect her to be specifically a spy for the Vatican. But she poisons him, that whole thing about the poison at night and antidote, or poison in the morning, antidote at night. Everything is fitting together. Yeah. So she poisons him.
Yeah, poisons him, and he apparently dies. And this news gets back to Marianne, and she doesn't believe it. Jean-Francois, is using this as violence against her, right? And she goes, with Sardis to see the body, and she threatens to go see the king, but that will not do.
And Sardis is control your sister, dog, to Jean-Francois.
Yeah.
The beast has stopped killing for now, which we find out why, or we know why, he's been injured during all this stuff. And then a really gross sexual assault scene. Where Jean-Francois confesses.
He confesses to Sardis. He goes specifically to him in the capacity of a priest. And this is where he says, well, there's a way that you can, there's only one way to get rid of this evil spirit inside of you. And that's when the creepiness sets in. After we see Sylvia exhume Franzok's body, this protracted scene of Jean-Francois creeping on Marianne.
And it's not entirely just
it's not
gross and
gratuitous.
rapey.
Yeah.
It's not gratuitous. It does it's still an incestuous sexual assault. But the reveal, the cool thing about it, the good thing that happens in it, or the effective thing, is Jean-Francois is why won't you be with me? Which is come on. Centuries of bred in taboo so we don't make monster babies. But he's is it because of this? And he starts taking off his shirt to show you think he's missing an arm, but he doesn't. He has one creepy Resident Evil monster arm.
Yep, that is bound behind his body.
Yep, which is great. Which we've seen this thing before, but it's creepy. So in Africa, he gained a case of monster arm.
Well, his arm got deformed, and it's very scarred and stuff, and was non-functional for a while. But Sardis, I forget where this is implied, or it's stated, or I was reading in some supplemental stuff. He bound it behind him. To help hide it and use that as a means of control or something like that. And it looks like a monster arm because he hasn't cut his fingernails, and also it's covered with sores, but it's somehow not atrophied enough that he can't swing a gigantic sword with it.
It's still an effective monster arm. Yeah. Well, it's because it's got monster powers from Africa. It's just magic at this point.
Okay.
There's just magic. He's a sorcerer.
All right. Okay. Fine.
Yeah. Don't try to make it. The headcanon doesn't have to be complete.
Yeah.
Here. But then he sexually assaults her. It's no good. But he reveals the reason why the beast didn't attack her. It's because it smelled her brother on him.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yep.
But now that he's awake, he got fake, our hero.
Yeah, Franzok.
Franzok got fake put to sleep. He comes back for revenge. Which he already got a bunch of revenge, but here's some more.
Here's some more. Again, another amazing shot as the Brotherhood
these cultists are great.
The remaining cultists in this hollow, and they're striking red robes, all holding their torches.
Yep.
Fuck.
It's really, really good.
Yeah.
Yep. And Sardis is saying hey, we need more beasts.
Yeah.
Because we have to undermine the king. It's real good. And Franzok shows up, and this is the point where I'm he definitely died and got magic powers. He's got cool skull face paint. He climbs up in the sky. It's a video game ending, and he's got cool powers. But he names them the same way he named them in court. Yeah. They're all wearing masks, but he's it's you and you and you, all the people. And then he jumps down and scalps one of them using the tricks he learned from his Native American partner. To just complete the cliche. It's the one thing that he didn't do. And he did it for him after he died.
His last unfinished deed.
Yep, exactly. And then Sylvia shows up as the sidekick for this like Resident Evil 5 like sequence.
Yep.
And kills the Roma girl with a fan blade.
Yeah, no, and again, just amazing costumes. She's dressed up in like a evening dress kind of thing.
It's so video gamey. Like this whole section is so like Devil May Cry or something. Like, I mean, it's not quite that bad, but it's very just like stylish, like action. Like, yeah, it's very much supposed to be badass. It ends with this duel between de Fronsac and Jean-Francois, where Jean-Francois has the puzzling stone sword from Dark Souls 2. Yeah. Like it is 100% that. Like it is. There's no. That's what it is. It doesn't even look like the sword that Ivy has. Like, it's not the Soul Calibur sword.
Nope.
It's the puzzling stone sword. It's made of stone.
Yep, it's made of stone and made to look like bone stones.
Yep. It's a bone stone and breaks apart into a whip. And I'm like, what? He's got a trick weapon. Like, what? What is this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I fall asleep? Am I dreaming the rest of this? Am I filling in the rest of this movie?
When like there's parts like I definitely, because I was kind of bored watching the first part, there are definitely parts where I just kind of like didn't literally wake up, but just kind of woke up to like, whoa, that's where we're at now, huh?
Yeah. Huh. Wow, that's kind of a big delta there. All right. Yeah, but they have this big fight, and it's only the two of them because Marianne has dealt with the Roma, and Duhamel's men have rained down gunfire on the rest. But Jean-Francois has a bone to pick, and they have again this pretty awesomely choreographed duel as he is using this whip to kind of like grapple with de Fronsac rather. And just in the middle of one of these kind of grappling things, de Fronsac slits his throat, okay, because it's right up here. And knowing that he's dead, he screams out, hey, Marianne, look at me, watch me. And yanks the trick sword back and brings the short sword up and stabs himself through the torso with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And de Fronsac says, hey, you're a madman. Marianne's not here. And then, I put her pretty little head in a box. You have united us forever, Fronsac. Uh-oh.
And it's just like, oh, geez.
Yeah.
Okay. She's dead. So, but yeah, Sylvia makes sure he's still dead, stabs him up, and decides to spare de Fronsac and tells him to get away as fast as he can.
Yeah.
Like, get out of here. And this is really the climax of the movie. We just have this little bit of a denouement coming. So Stardust is fleeing from wolves in the wood, and they're going to descend on him. So he gets his. And de Fronsac is walking back. Is this the part with the beast? Okay, that comes later.
Yeah, that's later. That's one of the many Return of the King endings.
Yeah, this does have a lot of closing shots, all stacked up on each other.
But at this point, he believes that Marianne is dead, and he Shawshanks, like straight up Shawshanks in the rain.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. But the Marquis comes and finds Fronsac and tells him that Marianne is, not dead, but dying. And he goes and confesses her love for her. And he uses his ancient Native American healing bracelet to drizzle something over her face.
Yep. And we zoom out, we go back to present day. And we don't act, it's the revolution. And the Marquis who's writing this is still trapped in his house. They're beating back the door, but then we return to the king back to the Marquis accompanying de Fronsac to the beast lair, where it's wounded, and this is where we find out the origin of the beast.
Yes.
It was a lion that was brought back from Africa by Jean-Francois and taught through cruelty and kind of neglect to hate humans.
Yes, and then also modified with this horrible metal.
It wears this horrible armor, and it's a pathetic figure, so he takes mercy on it.
Yeah, like he gives it like pets.
Yeah, he gives this pupper a pet, and then shoots it in the face.
Yes.
And Thomas finds out secretly the most important character. Fronsac wants Thomas to come and be a perpetual third reel for the rest of his life. And
they're gonna go solve lion crime in Africa.
Yeah, the trio. But Thomas doesn't want any part of that.
Yeah.
So
he'd rather be, sent to the guillotine. And he says, in late at night, it's been, I haven't seen them since then, but I dream of, de Fronsac and Marianne, being happy in Africa. And then we cut to a ship with Fronsac and Marianne as Fronsac spreads Manny's ashes over the ocean, but we don't know if this is the dream or if it's reality or not.
Yeah. And then a gigantic totem pole burst from the sea, covered with eagles. and trout and bears.
Yep, and it splits open like a beautiful flower, and inside his Manny, he's like, "Yo, wolf crime, where's Thomas at? I told you to bring Thomas."
Manny pops out of it and says, he says, "You will now be stabs with wolves." I don't know.
You will now be stabs wolves.
Yes, that is your new name.
Yep.
You have been, because as I didn't give anyone an Indian name during this entire movie. The last thing on the bingo checklist, and not just to get a bingo, to get a blackout. Like, yeah.
And all of that happened, literally all of it.
Yeah, and then
and if it doesn't show up on your DVD, you got the wrong version.
Yeah, we told you there's a bunch of different versions. You got to get the version that was banned by the
by the decency board that was formed by the creation of that cut.
Yes. And then that's the movie. That's Brotherhood of the Wolf, which I'm really glad I watched.
Me too.
I ended up liking it. I don't know if I'm in a real hurry to watch it again. Like, it is really good. You had to get through a lot. It reminded me of when I was young and read Jurassic Park multiple times. It's like, see your Jurassic Park. You start on page 80. Like, it's the beginning of that book is really boring. And lest anybody think I'm an idiot and I'm don't have I can handle a slow paced thing. Like, I like a slow paced thing. My favorite movie is There Will Be Blood. It's like nothing happens in that movie forever. But it does things with tension and it's deliberately paced. Whereas here, most of this movie just feels, not most, half this movie just feels very bloated to me.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it's a strength that it's so slowly paced. The payoff is totally worth it. And there are scenes that I can imagine, if people made mixtapes for action movies, which why isn't that a thing? But if people did that, there are scenes that would go on my summer action mix or whatever.
Yeah,
for this.
Definitely. I feel about the same. I like this movie. I think that there are maybe just enough, marginally just enough, likable actors in, even the slow parts, and, enough, moments of what the fuck, when it's a slasher movie at the beginning, that, those tentpoles buoy me through the court intrigue kind of parts of it.
Yeah.
And the action is fantastic. I tend not to watch a lot of action movies because they confuse me. And this one, I could totally follow it.
And most of them are bad. Action is not done really well, and that's the one thing. I kind of want this director to get, because I've never seen the Silent Hill movie, and you have, and my understanding is that there are a bunch of really cool sequences, and visually it's really neat, but it falls apart and is not very good ultimately. Yeah. And I know you can. I haven't seen it, so I don't know that to be true. But
it has big problems. It does a very good job of being a Silent Hill thing.
Yeah. I want this guy to find, he's got so much talent that I want him to find the perfect vehicle for himself. I don't think this is it. This is really good, but he's again, I just don't feel like he's totally leaning into his strengths. Yeah. I would love to see something that was akin, I think he would benefit from something a Fury Road style pacing. Not that I want all action movies to have a Fury Road style pacing now that Fury Road is such a masterpiece, but something that is just more kinetic kind of throughout, even if the whole thing isn't all action, but if things are moving more, in the slow parts, there's more opportunity for visual flourish. Yeah. And slightly less ponderous. But I ended up liking it, and it's saying something when it's very rare that I get to an hour into a movie and really dislike it to end up actually liking it. Right. To have something pull out of a nosedive as strong as this did. It's not a favorite, but it ended up being, a pass on the pass-fail scale. Yeah. Which at a point during my watch, I didn't think it would. Yeah. So. So I found two. I know we're coming up on time here, but I found two kind of not explicit, but kind of thematic connections to Bloodborne and Souls. Specifically for Bloodborne, this kind of sectarian political duel between science and faith. That is kind of under the an undercurrent for this movie. It motivates the cult, but it's still there and kind of causes all of it to go there. That kind of to me mirrors Bergenworth versus the Healing Church as it goes. And then also the idea of someone going far away and coming back changed with something dangerous. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. I could see that. the things that are thematic kind of ties really seem like they're real deep undercurrents in this movie.
Yeah.
To me, like I found a lot more connections in terms of like visual iconography.
Oh, for sure.
Stuff like, and I don't even know if it's directly like, again, Bloodborne didn't invent the tricorner hat, but like the scenes where they're preparing for the hunt, like that whole sequence is very, very Bloodborne like.
Yeah.
This idea like, oh, there are beasts in the countryside, we need to rally all the common people to like that's a very like, obviously that's the stated upfront premise of Bloodborne.
Yeah.
And then just some kind of like the tone of the weirdness when it gets weird, like weird monster arm.
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of thing like I could see like that happening in a Souls game, like somebody like a boss standing up untying their wraps around their arm and pulling out a monster arm.
Yeah.
Like that would be a boss introduction in like a Souls game. Like that feels very like ambiently Souls without being a direct thematic connection.
Yeah.
Thematically, like it definitely I feel like is more visual. But even we were talking about the action stuff, like even the action feels not dissimilar. Like it's much more acrobatic in this. Like he straight up does front jumps because he's got magic powers after he comes back from the dead. But the like Eric Draven, but the it's still got that kind of kinetic action feeling too that Bloodborne has, which makes it more of a piece to like specifically Bloodborne than any other Souls game.
Yeah,
like some of the fights kind of have a similar feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm happy to have given a movie this treatment. It was fun to watch one very closely and take notes and just kind of look at it with a different set of eyes than I otherwise would. Like this has been a season of discovery for this, kind of starting in the preseason with the comic and then going into straight up reading and doing all this. Like I had a realization a while ago that I somehow set myself up for a life of book reports.
Oh yeah.
But it's totally satisfying. Like I feel like I got so much more out of this than if I would have approached it just for fun is the wrong word, but without looking at it closely with a mind towards talking about it.
Agreed. Yeah, it was and yeah, for sure. I'm glad I watched it. Again, I think it's more of a stretch, but no more of a stretch than say the Labyrinth episode that I want to do during the off season. So that's as much of a stretch, if not more. But like, hey, off season's party time. Do whatever we want during off season.
The Miyazaki's away, the us will play.
Yeah. The Bonfire Boys will play.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks everybody for going on this odd little tributary with us. We're back next week with something I've been dreading for about 6 months.
Yep.
I've got to finish my chalices in time. I've got a week as of this recording about to finish my chalices.
Oh, this weekend's gonna suck.
I've got to play both Comrade games and finish chalices next week.
Jesus Christ.
So I think I can do it. I think it'll be fine because I'm done with school. But and I've got most of the chalices done. Real quick, I haven't said it on air yet, but thanks a lot to Jeremy and Egon of Astora for helping me out during chalices during the live stream.
Yeah, and thank everybody who gave to the live stream. Like we raised over $4,000 for the cause.
Yeah. This is the first Bonfireside chat we recorded since then. We're about to have fireballs. Yeah, thanks everybody.
Yeah.
For people who didn't get a chance to tune in, Jeremy, everyone agrees, and I agree that Jeremy officially won the chalice debate. Is that it? And I acquiesce that they're bad. They're not the worst. So like I had fun going through them with him.
Maybe you shouldn't have started with such an extreme position.
That was a joke. Because either way I win. So like that's that's either way they're bad. But I had fun doing it, and I'm sure it'll be fun. One of the best things, if you're also struggling to get through chalices, if you support us on Patreon, you go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv, go to our Slack channel. It's literally awesome people who are really good at Bloodborne saying like, I'm down to help anybody through chalices anytime. Like it is straight up like that's something that somebody said.
Yep.
Like Allison, I'll help all of chalices whenever. So like you can get help going through the monotony of chalices.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
If you join the Slack channel.
Yep. What you can do by going to patreon.com/DuckFeed.tv.
Indeed.
Yep. And you know the rest of the stuff to do iTunes, telling friends and all of that.
Yeah. And last thing, duckfeed.tv/tip jar if you're doing any holiday shopping. Yeah. So a little bit of shorter episode, but we'll be back next week with chalices. If you have anything to say about chalices, any wrap up thoughts, anything about those final fights, hit us up at duckfeed.tv/contact. And then Endgame and the DLCs.
Yeah.
And looking forward to that. So until next time, what should they do, Cole?
They should dance the dance of blood until the wolf comes with the dawn.
Yes, indeed.
And we all pray that we will have far more soon.
Teach me more of your wisdom.
So did you say senpai?
Yes, like chief.
Yeah.
Like,
why won't Chief notice me?
Yeah, why won't Chief notice me?